Have you seen Star Wars?
You know, I made a joke in a recent video that there's not much in the news cycle of Star Wars. So you know what fans decided to do? They decided to make the news. And I hate saying it because sometimes it becomes such a meme, mainly over the past 4 years, but this is clearly a sign of fake news. I mean, come on, people. There's this, I'm not even gonna call, I guess I have to call it a rumor. There's this alleged rumor that Star Wars, the people over there at Lucasfilm, is planning to reset the Disney trilogy, which is what people who don't like the sequel trilogy call the sequel trilogy, the Disney trilogy of Star Wars films. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. And of course, this comes from no other than the worst credible source on YouTube, Doomcock himself. He says that plans are in place that involves J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson's trilogy getting obliterated out of existence like Alderaan. And of course, these videos are kind of made because it's already close to 500,000 views, and it doesn't matter how true the information is, it matters how many views the information can get. He says that in Season 4, Episode 13 of Star Wars Rebels, it's an episode called A World Between Worlds, that there's this Veil of the Force concept, where you have these kind of interdimensional travel world that you enter. This was introduced with not the father and the son, but the daughter. She had like that owl creature that was on her shoulder that apparently was guiding Ahsoka, and it guided Ezra into this world between world things. That really did change a lot about the Force. And so Doomcock says, God, I don't know why anyone believes this dude. I have received confirmation from 2 additional sources claiming that this is spot on, that indeed Lucasfilm realizes they have a massive problem on their hands, and that the Star Wars franchise is all but dead, and despite Kathleen Kennedy's hatred of this idea, Lucasfilm is preparing to render the sequel trilogy null and void. He goes on to say that they will be removed from canon, isolated in their own alternate timeline, and regarded as Elseworlds-like installment under the label of Star Wars Legends. A massive reset is going to hit the Star Wars universe. I don't believe it. I don't buy it for a second. This guy has come out with so many things that have never come true. Something about George Lucas not even being allowed to the Rise of Skywalker premiere, even though he was in Orlando when that was going on, and he had already seen the movie when Rise of Skywalker came out. I mean, come on. And then something about Kathleen Kennedy being banned from the set of Mandalorian Season 2, despite the fact, you know, she's the actual executive producer of the show, the one who approved of the show that Jon Favreau pitched. You know, it's just one of those things where some people clearly have a narrative to be driving, and this is literally the perfect example of fake news just driving a narrative simply to anger the Star Wars fandom. This is one thing I can't stand, is monetizing outrage and literally misleading people. I mean, he's blatantly lying about this stuff. Either he is completely lying and creating this narrative, or he has the worst sources over there at Lucasfilm. And I say sources loosely because, I'm going to be honest, I have gotten plenty of messages from people who claim to be working at Lucasfilm. I remember last year, maybe it was even the beginning of this year, I had people message me, and one guy claiming that he had worked at Lucasfilm. There's going to be a lot of people that were going to be laid off in the coming months. And I told him, I was like, dude, I don't believe you. I have no idea who the hell you are. And so unless this stuff actually happens, what you say has no validity. And guess what happened? None of it ever came true. So I never came out with a report on it because I didn't believe it. So this guy's getting information like this, that Lucasfilm is resetting the Disney Star Wars trilogy. They just they literally spent $4 billion on the franchise, and now after the 3 to 5 movies they made, they're going, oh, you know what, we're just going to reset it all. That's not going to happen, dude. That's just not going to happen. They're going to get rid of the last performance by Carrie Fisher. You know how insulting that is? Also, when's the timeline? I really want to know when this is supposed to happen, because you know what's going to happen? In about a year or 2 from now, maybe even 5 years from now, this will never have happened. There's never going to be some alternate timeline or Veil of the Force crap where they completely reset the Star Wars universe and get rid of the sequel trilogy. When that never happens, no one's ever going to go to Doomcock and be like, oh, you were wrong, dude. Remember that awful report you came out with? Yeah, you were wrong. He's going to come out with something else that says, oh, now Disney's looking to cancel the prequel trilogy and actually reboot the entire Star Wars franchise and the entire original trilogy. Another thing I want to point out is that Disney just built Galaxy's Edge. Like, August of 2019 is when Galaxy's Edge opened, I think in Disneyland and in Disney World. It's a big deal. It's like $1 billion a pop, too. So why would Disney spend $1 billion per park, $2 billion, to build theme parks set in the sequel trilogy era, only to get rid of it and make those parks basically null and void, and there's no point of really going to them anymore? There's no way they would waste money like that. The Force Awakens made $2 billion in the box office. It's like third or fourth highest grossing film of all time. Even if you don't like the story, I don't like the story of the sequel trilogy, you cannot deny the success that they had. So if history repeats itself like the prequel trilogy, in 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years, there's going to be a lot of sequel trilogy fans that were kids when the sequels came out. And you can say that won't happen, but it happened with the prequel trilogy. And so it might happen again with the sequel trilogy. It just seems like there is a clear narrative to be driven here, and facts like the fact that they've built and made so much money from the new Star Wars franchise, it just seems to be irrelevant in this stupid fake report. This stuff is so... It's pandering to one specific part of the Star Wars fandom, and what's crazy is they eat it up. Like I've said before, you notice that there's no good news that comes out of this stuff. Sometimes people like The Hollywood Reporter will break, kind of sad news, or sad news in terms of a negative aspect for Disney PR and Star Wars PR over there at Lucasfilm, where David and Dan Benioff, they're no longer involved with the Star Wars trilogy. They're not making Star Wars anymore. And that is, in my opinion, good news. I didn't really want them to work on Star Wars in the first place, but that still wasn't great news for people over there at Star Wars and at Lucasfilm. But Hollywood Reporter also comes out with other things like, hey, J.D. Dillard may be directing a Star Wars movie, or there's a Kenobi series in the works. And what happens is eventually over time, those things become true because they're from credible sources of information. The stuff that Doomcock says, though, a lot of it can't be confirmed or really announced, and it's a lot of speculation. George Lucas banned from the Rise of Skywalker premiere. Well, how are you going to prove that? Simply because he wasn't there? Doomcock says that Kathleen Kennedy was banned from Season 2 of The Mandalorian, the set of Season 2. I know people who work on set of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. They said he was lying. Who are you going to believe, me or him? It's hearsay. A lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Doomcock got the Rise of Skywalker, right? Yeah, everyone and their mother went to Jedi Paxos and MakingStarWars.net to look at the leaks for that. Isn't this the same guy who also came out with the George Lucas cut, the J.J. Abrams cut, the Bob Iger cut of Rise of Skywalker or something? I mean, Jesus, you'd think the Snyder cut was a big scandal. Why is no one talking about the J.J. or the Iger cut? Bob Iger's never even made a film. Why would he be having a cut of the movie? That makes no sense. Oh my god, the dude is the CEO of Disney during this time period. You're telling me he has time to sit down and edit The Rise of Skywalker? Why does anyone believe this guy? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I get the hate monetization. I get the outrage. But it truly is kind of sad to look at this part of the fandom who just comes up with these awful conspiracy theories. Like they're like flat earthers. It doesn't matter what you tell these people. It doesn't matter the facts or the fact that they've never gotten a lot of these so-called reports right. What matters is the narrative. What matters is the views. What matters is telling people that Disney Star Wars is bad. Therefore, any bad news about Star Wars is good. Remember this. Check his channel out. There's only going to be negative opinions on Star Wars. There's only going to be negative rumors and confirmation and news breaks about Disney Star Wars. It's never anything positive like, hey, there's a Clone Wars series in the works about the Bad Batch guys. You remember them? They're getting their own spin-off series. Or maybe there's a Rebels sequel in the work. Or here's what I know that's going to happen in The Mandalorian Season 2. Didn't he come out and say that Boba Fett was going to be a transgender female or something in the next season of The Mandalorian? When The Mandalorian Season 2 comes out and that doesn't happen, are you guys still going to believe this dude? In 5 to 10 years, when the sequel trilogy is still a thing and someone like Daisy Ridley possibly comes back for a episode 10 or something, oh god help us, what are you going to say then? Are you going to say, oh, well, Disney went the opposite way, Lucasfilm went the opposite way? Or are you finally going to realize people like this make up the worst possible conspiracy theories, just like Mike Zero does, just like WeGotThisCovered.com, just like all these fake news outlets do, just to get your attention and just to get you talking about it and just to get the money from the views? It almost makes me embarrassed sometimes to be a part of this fandom, to see grown men act so pathetically and embarrassingly and just kind of sad. It becomes a point where you do have to say, grow up, it is just Star Wars. To take Star Wars into such a culture level, into such a fear-mongering, pandering kind of thing where you're just gonna spread negativity and spread fake news for the sake of hating on a few certain films, it's just sad, and it really makes me wonder what the reason people like him and other people have for being in the Star Wars fandom. Are you in it for the money? Are you actually in it because you're a Star Wars fan? And I think the answer is obviously clear. I'm not going to give any kind of rumor like this credibility because it's absolutely fake. You shouldn't even take this with a grain of salt. The fact that I made a video about this is sad enough, but I feel like sometimes I have to tell you Star Wars fans what's real and what's not, and it's just sad to see so many people believe such a clearly and obviously fake news story and fake narrative. And I hope you don't buy into it. I hope the Star Wars only fans are rational enough to look at this and go, sometimes if it's too good to be true, it must be. Let's talk about it in 5 to 10 years when this shit never happens and he comes out with another 10 conspiracy theories about the Rian Johnson trilogy. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave your thoughts about this stupid theory. Hope you guys have a good day. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe because it does help out the channel. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.